First of all, thank you guys for being here this morning. I hope everybody had a good weekend. We want to touch on a few issues today. I have with me Senator Mullis to discuss some legislation he's going to be dropping today that deals with transportation, as you might suspect. And he'll be here to answer some questions in just a moment. First and foremost, the budget. We want to thank the governor for presenting to the legislature a budget that accurately reflects the economic situation of today, and that is we've had a serious economic change. We've had a revenue downturn, but there is some good news, and the good news is the fact that over the last 2 years, this legislature and the governor have done a very good job in putting money aside into the rainy day fund. Now, I think this sometimes gets overlooked because, as many in this room know, there have always been calls and will always be calls for us to spend every single penny that the taxpayers send us. Over the last few years, we wisely did not listen to that bad advice and decided to put more than $1 billion into the reserve fund. Thankfully, we have that $1 billion, actually $1.2 billion in the reserve fund today, and that money will be used to prevent even more cuts that would be necessary in our state budget. Please know that the House and the Senate are committed to working with the governor to make sure that we strike the exact right balance. Clearly, we're going to have to reduce spending in some areas, but at the same time, we need to be able to fund those necessary functions of government, those constitutionally mandated functions of government. So that's the delicate balance that we're challenged with. And by the end of this session, we will have solved that problem. Not everyone's going to be happy, but I can promise you the same fiscal discipline that has allowed this state to enjoy a AAA bond rating, the same fiscal discipline that has allowed us to put more than $1 billion in reserves will be used to make sure we balance this budget. One of the main issues for the fiscal year 2009 amended budget is the homeowners tax relief grant. We have been working with the House in finding that level of commitment to make sure that we fund that very important program for this year. I can tell you there's a large number of House and Senate members that consider this a top priority, and we will stay here as long as we need to try to look at every possible alternative for reducing spending to make sure that we fund the HTRG. We will continue to have dialogue with the governor. He has been open to us working with him to try to find those resources. As you know, it was not included in his amended budget, but he has been open to the process. And as we move through the House and then into the Senate, again, we are dedicated to doing whatever it takes to hopefully look at every possible alternative for finding the necessary resources for the homeowners tax relief grant. And then finally, the issue that Senator Mullis is here to join us today and talk about is transportation. Clearly, this is an issue that extends beyond just moving people from point A to point B. The reality is that transportation is both a short-term and a long-term economic development issue. In the short term, we need people back to work. We need the construction industry back up and rolling again. We need people building transportation projects. In the long term, this is very simple. We do not need to lose another job in Georgia because of transportation. The fact of the matter is Georgia was one of the top locations in this nation, particularly Metro Atlanta, for businesses and companies to locate. But clearly our transportation problems have caused some companies, some industries to take a second look and look elsewhere. We don't need that to happen. We need to solve the transportation problem that exists today. There are a multitude of ways that people think we ought to solve the transportation problem, and I'm sure many of them work, but we've got to find a solution. We should be happy that we have probably the world's best international airport, that we have perhaps the best port system in the United States, but that doesn't solve our surface transportation problems, moving people from point A to point B. The question is, how do we solve that? Is it going to be done on a statewide approach? Is it going to be done on a regional approach? Senator Mullis will be here to discuss his plan, which focuses on a regional approach, allowing local communities, local regions to go before the voters and ask them what projects they would like in their region and how to fund those projects. So that is the essence of the Senate transportation plan that will be introduced today. But this is a starting point for the 2009 session. This is not an ending point. We in no way have the silver bullet. Our friends in the House are also working on the transportation issue. We certainly respect that. We will continue to work with them as we have been, and we want to come to a solution. I can't tell you this morning what exactly that solution will be, but I can promise you it will be a solution that we eventually come up with, and one that is a joint effort between the House and Senate. So